right off the bat, Vegas Image and Imerge Pro are different in the sense that one has integration and the other does not. Vegas Image integrates with Vegas Pro. Meanwhile, Imerge Pro does not integrate with anything. It is, but in fact, a standalone image compositing software. But they are essentially the same product. They are both non destructive. It is impossible to destroy your image right until you hit that export button. So imagine this is actually a pretty cool description that was, I quote from a moderator from the FX Home Forums, Try and Visual. Um, he calls it editing an image just like you would in Vegas Pro or HitFilm by throwing all the effects and masks on it. But I mean, you technically do edit the photo, but you end up destroying nothing, and that's what it essentially is. So just to give you a quick example, here I have Affinity Photo open, which is pretty much the equivalent of Adobe Photoshop. It is the exact same thing, just a competing software made by a British firm. Now, if I were to look for a non-destructive method to crop out this image, well, I can. All I got to do is just mask this photo. There's a clip masking, and essentially what happens is that I pick a brush, and if the value of the brush is black, then I can start erasing. Let's say I accidentally erased this part of her head. I switch back the color to white, and I can recover. So this is a non-destructive workflow that is available in Photoshop or Affinity Photo. However, you can easily make the mistake of, for example, just switching colors and whatnot, and you wouldn't notice until somewhere along the way. I mean, if to be honest, if you were a professional, you wouldn't make this mistake. But it is very, very possible that you could end up destroying your image one way or another. So let's say this is the result that I'm looking for. I know that this is typically not, but let's say that this is the result that I'm looking for. Okay, so evidently far from ideal, but this is just a quick demonstration of how one typically edits non-destructively. There are, of course, multiple methodologies. So this would be a non-destructive workflow in Affinity Photo or Adobe Photoshop. Uh, but as soon as I start getting into applying effects, stuff like sharpen, clarity, brightness, contrast, blah blah blah, then I would have to think about stuff like, for example, duplicating this layer in order that just to keep a backup, so I can do things, and if I mess up, I could just go back to that backup layer and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. There's a lot of different non-destructive workflows in Affinity Photo. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say here when I say workflow. But when it comes to Imerge Pro or Vegas Image, it is impossible to lose anything. It is impossible. Say I wanted to crop the image like I did back in uh, Affinity Photo or Photoshop. It's a case of just drawing this mask, and look, I'm gonna do a real sloppy job. I'm just gonna draw like that without even minding the edges that much. I'm just gonna do it like that. Sure, I'll include some space, and I'll show you why I'm so careless. Is because once I'm done drawing the mask, all I gotta do is just straight up take the nodes and adjust them, and nothing happens. There is no data lost, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is rotoscoping the image rather than destroying, potentially destroying pixel data. And this is just how Imerge Pro operates. In fact, check this out. Say I want to add a clarity effect, okay? So I can go to, well, this is in Arabic, okay. So I'll go to clarity, right? And, I'll increase it. This is clarity, it's increasing. And say I want to double that clarity. In Photoshop or Affinity Photo, there is a certain threshold that the software allows you. Otherwise, if you really want to go over the top, then you'd have to export the image, bring it back, add more clarity, export the image. This one, you can duplicate as many clarity effects, as many any effects that you'd want. So obviously, this is not a result that I'd be looking for, but just to illustrate my point, here's another thing that you could do with Imerge Pro. Let me just remove all of this. Jesus. Let's say I want to isolate this effect into to a specific region. That's all I got to do is just draw a mask. Vector. And the clarity becomes only isolated to this eye. The same thing with exposure, the same thing with brightness, with curves, with any effect you could imagine. So this is the entire point of Vegas Pro, not Vegas Pro, sorry, Imerge Pro or Vegas Image. It's the fact that it's a non-destructive compositing software. It edits in 16-bit color depth, which not even Adobe Photoshop does. This is the only image compositing software in the world that edits images in a 16-bit canvas. So this is a lot of color information that is being preserved or introduced, if you like, and it is just a very, very sophisticated compositing software. I mean, I invite you to check out the quick speed art video that I did. It's called Bulb Yoga. I'll link it somewhere in the description. And yeah, I mean, you can see the potential of this software. That's all it is for now. This is essentially what Imerge Pro is. It is, and it really does offer you a lot of potential. Of course, head on over to FX Home's YouTube channel to find out more about what this software can do, because what I just described here is essentially the backbone or the main concept of a non-destructive compositing software. But to see what it's truly capable of, I would really, really suggest that you take a crack at the YouTube tutorials that FX Home offers. My name is Mohammed Anis. I hope you learned something.